And we're live. Awesome, awesome. Waiting for some people to start tuning in, watching the show. Today's podcast, we have Ramsey English Cantu returning, giving us a second chance at this conversation podcast um, to speak with him about what's going on. Of course, we all see what is going on Facebook, of course, and it gets interesting because we want to kind of know what the background information, what's going on, what's the story, what's the details, um, what's behind the scenes. I mean, most people try to pretend that they don't pay attention, follow up, or anything like that. But I mean, we're always wanting to know what what's going on behind the scenes. So, and it's not too common where you can have elected official, somebody running for office that's willing to come on as often as Ramsey English Cantu has been willing to come on and talk to us, talk to the public. Um, he did say he wanted to come on. The next time he wanted to come on, he wanted to speak about different situations, different questions that may come from the public, may come from the community. So if you guys want to say any comments, bring anything up in the comments, we'll try to get to it. I mean, we don't really have anything structured exactly to go, what it is we want to go through. So, and again, whenever we spoke with Ramsey originally, we were trying to get a situation where he kind of talks to the public, kind of addresses stuff that you want to know. And I think that that's one of the most important things is to reach out to the community, reach out to the citizens, reach out to the residents of your voter base or your constituents, if you want to say, and tell them, reach out to them, and let them know what it is that they're willing to do, what it is that they want to work on, what it is that they want to progress on as an elected official. Now, it's good that we are getting, Ramsey and English Cantu in a little bit. We're just waiting for him to log on. We went ahead and ran the live, let everybody kind of build up, let our live viewers go. It's going to be a little bit less structured, kind of just talk about, we'll go ahead and show some comments that the people are posting while we're here. Like I said, today's podcast is really about the community, having a conversation with the potential elected official. Of course, if he's elected in this cycle, it's not going to be until the end of the year next year that he'll be taking over. So that I think that's an interesting backstory that a lot of people are not talking about, is the situation that might unfold whenever, if and the current county judge loses his seat. I mean, he still has that. We're going to find out March 1st. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. March the 1st, we're going to find out whether we're going to have a new county judge or we're going to be, we still have a Republican candidate. So that's going to be a little interesting. But as far as Democratic opponents go, we're going to find out who's going to represent the Democratic Party for Maverick County judge. And I mean, it's a heavyweight battle as it is. I mean, I know some of y'all have seen on social media, predominantly I would say Facebook, maybe YouTube, and you see the back and forth that both of the candidates for Maverick County judge have been, for lack of a better words, slinging. They like to call it. I think another somebody called it on Facebook mudslinging. And I think a lot of us are familiar with that term mudslinging. But I mean, I think up until yeah, I think it is exponentially getting worse. I do believe that uh, uh, one of the things that may have caused a quick turnaround or a quick escalation in this certain campaign, in this certain race, is a publication that was brought out by the Eagle Pass news leader uh, rather recently. I think it was yesterday or the day before. And there were pretty strong indications, accusations in that publication. I mean, I don't know if I have not seen it on the paper, the publication, the newspaper, the Eagle Pass News Leader. I know it was on their website. We have screenshots of that just in case they. We've been trying to bring different people. It's kind of as if you're willing to come on, you'll come on. The thing is that I mean, we haven't had any straight suggestions from the community as far as who we should bring on or anything like that. But we do feel that the candidate, the big thing going on right now, that's going to have the most effect in the future, or in the foreseeable future for our community, is that of the county judge race, because that is such in itself, Frankie Tobias, in itself, that one's a pretty big race. Now, I've been trying to get, if you follow our posts, we try to get David Saucedo, because we're trying to get both sides of this, this battle for the Democratic nomination for Maverick County Judge. Because I mean, if you look at it, both of these candidates probably think that if I win this Democratic nomination, that they probably won't have much of a battle when it comes November against a Republican, because there hasn't been a Republican in a while. Now, not to talk down on the Republican, they do have their votes right behind them, and many people that are voting Democrat right now in the primaries, they're going to turn around and vote for a Republican candidate in the open in the general election, so to speak. So, I mean, we're trying to get who we can. Of course, we can't force people in here. We've been trying to get Maverick County Judge David Saucedo for quite some time, and it just, for whatever reason, it has not worked out. And I mean, we're trying to get as diverse as we can. I know if they get in contact with us and they try to schedule a podcast with us, we would be more than happy to accommodate that and talk to anybody, especially right now during the elections. And if they're a candidate, we'd be glad to talk to them. But yeah, I agree. That would be a good one, but I mean, I can't speak for anybody else. We'd love to see a lot of things, but whether they'll happen, I don't know about that. We'll see. And that's an interesting story that we kind of want to bring up about the Eagle Pass News Leader, because, like I said, I don't know if it was on the print publication, but in the I don't know if it was in the print publication, but on their website, they did release a story, and in normal fashion, in tradition with how they conduct themselves, it was a pretty heavy-handed story that the Eagle Pass News Leader put out, and names were thrown. I think things were insinuated, and those are things that are well in bounds for us to kind of ask, why are these people, attacking you? Why are these people throwing these accusations out there? Is what's going on? And you know, we're into the early vote 4 days, 5 days. One second, real quick, guys. We're trying to connect up here. All right, guys. Sorry about that. We're trying to get, like I said, the Ramsey English Cantu on here. We just received a message from him. He's going to be logging in shortly, so we'll be bringing him up as soon as he's here. Of course, like I said, if you guys have any questions that you want to ask, please go ahead and throw something out there. And we have some items here that are kind of written down, kind of loosely, to speak about. But if you have any questions that you would like to talk about, please throw them in the comments, and if we can get to them, we'll gladly will. All right. Well, what I do want to say is I want to ask to see what people think that. All right. Well, wait a minute. We got actually Ramsey logging in right now. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them on. We're gonna bring up. Go ahead and bring up the interview that you guys wanted to watch. This is round two, so to speak, with Ramsey English Cantu candidate for Maverick County judge. How's it going,
Good evening. Good evening, Isaac. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. How's
Great.
your Friday evening going?
It's going. It's going. I guess we could call this round two, right?
Yeah.
But more than anything, I appreciate it. I apologize that we're a little bit behind. We've been out still visiting with people. I'm pretty sure that all of y'all know that this is in campaign mode. It's always something that is crucial to be out there visiting until the very last day. There's always either information or voters that wish to kind of poke your brain on topics and things of that nature. And I think that it's something that we all need to do as candidates in order to make sure that we are informing them. So we're here, a little sunburnt, but hey, it's okay. We're all surviving.
The battle scars,
Battle
right?
scars. That's right.
And I think that you kind of indicated in the last podcast that you kind of were willing to take some questions, what people were thinking and stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to bring up some the items that your opponent continues to kind of throw out there in the public to whether to confuse, whatever it is he's trying to do, right? His tactics. So one of the things that, and I tagged this one on the screen because that's one of the things that I was very curious, and somebody put it out there, so let's go ahead and talk about it right away. Is that
Sure.
About the taxes, because we have heard Maverick County Judge David Saucedo mentioned that a big thing about taxes, and Ramsey's going to come in, make you pay more taxes, and what's up with that situation? Is how true is that the Maverick County judge is saying that type of thing, to where you want to raise taxes, that's what you're going to come in and do, and that's what is ultimately, I guess, what he's trying to say, that's going to scare the people into voting, towards his way, of course.
Well, I think that it's definitely a very valid question, and I believe that in this process, as we're going through this entire election process and this election, it's important for us to speak specifically towards that, because I believe that taxes is a huge issue in this community. At times, we see so many issues where we have seen increases that have been made with all entities. I can speak for the entity of which I served on for quite a number of years, and I was very proud, that at the beginning we had to do certain things with our tax break number in order to make sure that we could initiate the projects that we were going out for, and that was just strictly at the very beginning. Services, of course, are crucial. The city was in dire need of infrastructure at the time that I came in back in 2010. But if you go back and you look at the last 7 years of our city tax rolls, you'll see that there is no tax hike that happened or a tax raise that was done. Those issues, when we deal with them straight off the bat, were very important for me to maintain the tax low, and the city remains, the lowest taxing entity, simply because obviously we have a great revenue system that comes from the International Bridge. The tax number there, when we look at the tax rates, were always something that were very crucial for us, because we don't want to affect, or I didn't want to affect, and I know the council. I speak for the times that we were there. There was never an issue where we wanted to raise taxes to raise taxes. That's not who I am, and that's not who the group of individuals who I served with on the council were at that time either. I don't believe that when there is no need to raise taxes, there's just no need. We don't have to be touching that subject. And I don't believe that, right now when we deal with the issue of Maverick County, I don't think that, we're seeing that issue there either at this point. What I do believe that Maverick County needs to do when it comes to finance is a complete restructure. We need to truly revise the system of which the finance a portion of the operations of the county are currently running. There needs to be a review of everything. There needs to be, if you were to ask me, a complete forensic audit on Maverick County finances in order to maintain the operations and to see where it is that we are going in stances of the future. So when you come down to it, I am not a tax hike person as my opponent claims me to be. I believe that, David has spoken, or has basically spewed, I should say, so many lies throughout this campaign, because there is no base of merit on his behalf. And when you see individuals who just begin to throw things out like that, there's obviously a reason. It's because they have nothing to fall back on. They have no record of successful work history or successful projects that have benefited this community. And that's what he has to fall back on. That's what David is. And David's going to continue to do that. There's a lot of things that he's been saying lately, a lot of things that have been going out. And I believe that, it's disappointing, when you have people that are like that in office that simply just utilize their way of force and power to intimidate and to lie to people and to just basically send a message that is not what this community is truly about. The citizens in Maverick County, and I think in any community, but just from what I see when visiting them, is that they want change and that they want a better opportunity for what they've been living. But there are so many people that are out there that are scared of this individual. And it baffles me to think that this is what we are dealing with nowadays.
Why do you think they're scared? Or is there, something so obvious there that, we can point on? Or
intimidation tactics from this individual is what I have seen from everyone. You know, it is always an issue. While we have been blessed in this campaign to receive the amount of support that we have, you find the people in the colonias, in the business sector, that are like, you know, they're a bit intimidated to see the issues as they are, and to express any support because they know that they'll receive a backlash. Um, and it's true. I know that that's what he would do, and I know that that's the type of person that he is. You know, you see that in any case reform, you know, within this community. And I think that, you know, we need to make people not only um, the common citizen, but the county employees, you know, that are afraid. You know, I mean, I see employees that are going to vote, and I know they're voting for me, for one, on certain cases, or at least the ones that I've talked to. And I see them walking in with, like, you can even like sense that they're probably trembling, you know, getting to the polls just because they want to get in and out. And that's just disappointing.
Are you seeing that a lot?
Oh, I'm seeing that very frequently, very frequently. The employees that are out there that are coming out is one. First of all, I'm honored that they had the or that there was that ability and confidence, that they saw that I was an individual that's easy to speak to, and that can have a conversation to just basically, you know, talk about issues and see what we can do to fix them. Um, and that, you know, is what I see and what I have seen day to day as this entire process has gone through. It's disappointing, but it's reality in Maverick County right now. And nobody should ever have to feel those types of things, you know, in this community. I don't think that we should really ever have to feel intimidated or harassed, I should say, by any one individual. This isn't a dictatorship, you know, it's a democracy. And throughout this democracy, you know, there's hierarchies, and that's respectable. But you also have to give respect to earn respect from people. And that's something that lacks truly at the courthouse.
Well, you were talking about voter turnout right now. Well, talking about the voters coming out, feeling intimidated because of the situation. So, how is the voter turnout coming from your point of view? Because I mean, we do see Facebook, and I'll be honest, from what I've seen, there's a hell of a lot more pictures with you and members of the community than you see with your opponent with members of the community. What you do see is a lot of employees from the county that are involved in, you know, movements around the campaign. They're at their camp by the multipurpose center. But I mean, how do you see the voter turnout coming out?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up about the whole issue with the camp and how those issues are working out. Let me tell you that this election has been an experience in itself, because we have such interesting issues that happen on a daily basis, and you see the lack of impartialness. One, I guess I could say, from certain individuals who are in charge of the outer portion of the election. And two, you know, of course, you can't bring that up or really touch many of those subjects with that situation because, well, you know, you just have to respect the individual who's in charge of the party and kind of hope for the best in this election process. But when we see the turnout, and when we see how certain things want to get done and changed, and movements that want to be made just simply because it benefits one side over another, it's disappointing even in that end. But the voter turnout, you know, thankfully has been good. It's been, you know, we've been seeing on day one, there was about 622 that voted. Day two was about 471. Day three was about 492. Day four, we were looking at about 439. And today we had 521. which leads us to a total of 2,555 voters that have voted from Monday through Friday. I think that it's definitely a good start to this election process. We're hoping that we will definitely be able to continue encouraging our voters to take part in this early voting process. Early voting is key in this election. And I know that tomorrow, since we're going to be having a special Saturday election, it'll be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'm expecting a great turnout again of voters who are going to make it out to the polls to express their right. And Sunday as well, from 9 to 3. So, I think that it's been going on track. People have definitely come and been visiting with us every day. And it's unique. I guess the city elections, we were always kind of like on the lawn area of the multipurpose. It was a little bit different. County elections were across the street. So these people are crossing the street themselves. They're coming over to our campsite, talking to us, expressing their support. And that's one thing that, I'm honored that the people have that, ability to go and show their support for these races. Endorsements that have come, from nowhere that weren't expected, but they want to show their support for the campaign. Local attorneys and local leaders who have gone out and done that there at the campsites as well. It's just a blessing. I think that that the people want change. The people want to make a difference in this community, and it's going where it needs to be going. Today specifically, in the morning, it was Friday. It was cold. It started off with 40-degree weather. Had to take in heaters this morning, but we were standing there, and I was standing there. It was a little slow morning, and I kind of just turned towards my opponent's campsite and figured, I think that one, it was disappointing and just to see that, but the people that were there, I mean, we were looking, I just looked at the individuals and figured that's roughly about $120,000 in salaries that are right there, and that's sad when you just have
At
people
what time
there.
was it?
This was in the morning.
So
And
you would think that
these are
that 120 something thousand would be working for the community rather than out there trying to.
You would think so. You would think so. Unfortunately, either and hey, everybody has their right to support their candidate. I'm hopeful that these people have checked out for a week or so, of working to do their diligence for their boss. And to go out and support, whether it's holding a sign or yelling across the street and harassing people or anything else, that they are doing there. It's just sad. It's sad that this is what Maverick County has come to. And it's sad that the leadership has taken our county from what was a low standpoint to an even lower standpoint, in my opinion.
Wow. Wow. Now, I know somebody had mentioned, we talked about a little bit in our last podcast about the falling out that you and Maverick County Judge David Saucedo had. And one of the comments that we went ahead and we extracted that question from our podcast, put it out for the people because that was something that a lot of the people wanted to know, whatever happened with them, they're, related, what have you, this and that. So somebody brought up the question about the airport. Now, the airport. Now, was that something that also caused friction between y'all two, or why is the airport so important for the county, for Eagle Pass, and that situation? How did that pan out?
Yeah, and I thank that person for obviously bringing those topics up once again. The airport was a huge undertaking for the city at one point. I believe, and I'm always of the belief that you work with people who are going to help you as a leader to develop our community. And I think that any individual who has served in capacity of leadership, whether it's a council member, a mayor, a county judge, a commissioner, you work with people who have the ability to have the capital to bring and retain investment into our community, to bring in those opportunities for our community in general.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a time that I'm sure that many people realized that we, the city, had been working together because we had looked at an option where there was an airport opportunity to gain a huge amount of land that was going to open up that opportunity to provide that service. And I think first, what I should mention is that when sometimes people say, well, what do you need an airport for? Why does Eagle Pass need an airport?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just kind of cover this area. Without an airport, our community does not open itself up to grow, does not open itself up for the heavy investor to, whether it's landing here, whether it's, having the international business between to land here and to, to cross into Mexico. There are so many needs for the connectivity of industry throughout our region, throughout our state, nation, internationally. There is a need for that. And Eagle Pass is at a point to where we need to assure that we're working to meet these goals. Right now, I remember that I had to fly out of the airport here in an issue, and we were attending a meeting in McAllen, and I was attending it together with one of the local presidents of the bank. We were asked to join this meeting, went and attended this meeting with our congressional delegation. It was a whole delegation of congressmen that came in from Washington to see the border and to understand it. It was a Republican caucus along with the Democratic caucus, and it was just a whole slew of things that we were covering. And I remember that when we flew out of there, when we came back, the plane was coming back into our airport. And all of a sudden, I remember, and I kind of thought to myself, seriously, is this how I'm going to die? Because the plane is lowering itself, trying to come on down to the runway, and automatically has to jilt back up into air because there was a school, I guess you can call it, of javelinas on the runway of the airport.
Wow.
So that issue was a huge safety concern, obviously, because the fences were not what was required to maintain the wild game, javelinas, deer, whatever was required to do that here within our airport area and to cover that. So it was like a huge issue. And I remember thinking to myself, God, this is where we're at. And that was kind of like where everything sparked itself to, why isn't it that Eagle Pass has better infrastructure at this airport? So conversations began having, and we met with the Wynn family, who we all know the Wynn family has donated land throughout our entire community. They've donated it for C.C. Wynn High School. They have invested heavily into certain portions of the community. They were extremely generous with the sports complex, the donation of that land. We were even able to get additional lands for additional projects that were coming that are connected to the sports complex. But there was an initial project where the Wynn family had their landing strip off of Loop 480.
Okay.
It's off in that area. And we figured, there's some great connection with TxDOT. How can we utilize and try to see if the Wynn family, if we get them to donate this, how can we expand upon this single landing strip that they have for their own private use to let this grow into an international airport for our community? Have a plan of action, but get it started. And I remember very clearly that when we went out there, we visited the sites. We literally went and traveled to Austin, spoke with Chairman Bud, who is the chairman of the TxDOT Commission, literally had intense conversations on this. And the Aviation Commission came back and said, there's a wonderful opportunity for you all. We can even gain with it was roughly, we were looking at an additional, the first funding portion would have been about $6 million to get everything going with an assistance portion for that. We would have had the in-kind contribution of the Winds land that would have met together with that. And on top of that, you would have seen issues of how we would have grown. The only issue was, they said, you currently have one airport in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Your community is not large enough to have two.
Mm-hmm.
We will not give the funding to Maverick County based on the situation of Maverick County's past. But we will work together with you in the city in order to assure that we can move this community in the right direction and getting this project accomplished. Whether it was starting it on the first phase and moving it on and moving it in the right direction. Went, spoke to the judge, had this whole conversation. Mind you, things were slightly rocky around that time frame. But nonetheless, this was a good opportunity to get a project together. My intention was to make sure that we had a project that was listed very firmly and that was going to bring in a new airport. Mm-hmm. Told him, I said, whatever you can do, 20,000, 100,000, whatever it is that they can do, just put in something from the county. And this will be the Eagle Pass Maverick County International Airport. It can be, it would have to have had its own managing board and everything. It's a separate process. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the judge didn't want to operate with that. Didn't want to see anything that was tied in any way, shape, or form to the city of Eagle Pass. And simply because the judge has this little problem that, and this is exactly his words, okay, this is what he told me. He says, you've got this project. He goes, and you can see your name on it. I can already see it. And you tell me, and just because apparently we had been working on it for so much, and the judge has gone around and says, you know, look at all these plaques that he put all over the place. Well, it's not my fault that we were able to accomplish projects. The judge has a problem that there isn't a plaque in sight that's got his name on it, you know, because he hasn't been able to accomplish anything. And that's not my fault. That's just standard protocol for city development and projects and investments that landed as an actual completion of a project, you know? So those are the issues where the city lost out, and not only the city, but the citizens lost out on it. And when I say an airport, I'm not talking about this is a San Antonio airport, you know, Terminal A, Terminal B. No, this is an airport that would have opened up opportunities for us to, right now we have airplanes that are landing
I think we got having a freeze issue here. Everybody see what's going on? Frozen? Uh-oh. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties. It appears that we have a frozen Mayor, Ramsey English Cantu here, and he is out of the feed. I believe he's probably going to try and log back in, and here we have him back in. And
okay, we're back.
All right.
So I was talking about how UPS and FedEx have all of these deliveries that are going into the Uvalde airport right now, and all of those packages are actually converted or being sent into Maverick County and the development of this area. Delivery. The numbers are there for the services and the providers to actually have the necessary warehousing, to have the necessary hangars for these airports, and all of that is, one, a revenue source. Two, it's an issue for industry and development. warehousing, all of that creates jobs. How anyone in their right mind can say no just because they have this thought of, I mean, they're so far ahead and thinking, on something that's as minute as that. But that's the way that my opponent thinks. If he didn't think about it, it's not worth even talking about. And that's when, I go back and I think about all these things where he has said that I can't work with people, or that I have these, vendettas. He and his other people that are out there running with him together have all said that. And I'll throw it out there. I don't have an issue saying this. There's a candidate for commissioner who served with me on the city council that has been very vocally supportive of my opponent. We all know who this individual is. This person, it shocks me to think that, he has said those things when he himself was out there patting me on the back and saying, "Great job, Mayor. We're so glad that you're doing all this work, and things are wonderful, and they are what they are." I mean, it's not worth me even mentioning his name because it's just such lies that are out there that it leaves me in disbelief to think, how can you have people like this, even running for office, I guess is the thing to say. It's disappointing.
You see, and I think that's where a lot of people get confused here, especially in our community, because most of you have the older people that, maybe they don't really know, and they'll hear a soundbite, from one politician, and they'll stick with that, because they don't hear anything else. They'll stick with that, and like, I'm going to go vote for him. I don't know anything else. I don't want to know anything else. And then you have the younger crowd that, you have an impressionable younger crowd coming up, and then you have a figure, not pointing fingers, but just saying what people want to hear, not necessarily the truth, not anything like that, but just straight out saying these things. And we know how saying something can eventually stick. What is it, if you say something so many times, eventually people recognize it as the truth because that's all they've been hearing. So I can see how it could be difficult to battle the going on nationwide as well, the misinformation, the I guess quote unquote attacks of who you are, what you represent, and get the shine on their name so much, because you can't forget that they're the ones that do everything right. They're the ones that only work. They're the ones that only pay taxes. They're the only ones that do
that's the interesting part, Isaac. That apparently they think they're just perfect when they're far from it. And I'm not here to bring out anything specific on them, but it is shocking to see that people like them, and I say like them because I speak in the capacity of their positions that they have held in the past. This is not speaking ill of them as candidates. This is speaking of their record as leaders. There had been issues that had come up recently and that we had discussed with several people. And when you see the people who were in office at the beginning of all this COVID situation, and you know who I'm speaking of, there were issues where there was, at the onset of this COVID situation, there was a way for us to receive a necessary what would have been a temporary type facility that could have been facilitated here in this community for our residents, for those people who are battling COVID. And this was a situation that, of course, I knew of when I was still employed with the senator. Situations that were ongoing and conversations that were ongoing. And it was disappointing to see that our leaders rejected the ability to have a clinic / hospital come up in our area to provide the infusions that were being given for those COVID patients in order for them to not fall into the situation of having to have been intubated, which we all know that many of them died in our city. And it was all because the situation of where this conversation was going on, there were people that were involved. And when we look at that and we see where we're at and how the lack of leadership, that if there was an organization that was willing to come in, but it needed to fall under the EOC. And when leadership decides not to do that because it would have been too much work to handle.
Oh, wow.
And you put people's lives at stake like that, but yet they can all sit and, stand and say that they're the greatest things in the world. When people needed you most, David, you weren't there for them. The only thing that you have been able to accomplish, and I give you credit, you have given possibly, I think, individuals the situations of seeing the situations that they're living and hoping that providing certain, food giveaways, distributions, that's been his greatest fix right now. That has been David's political campaign on COVID dollars, or well, not even on COVID dollars, but that's the food bank. But yet he's based himself on that. And there's so much more to Maverick County than that. Believe me, I'm a strong supporter of it. I think that we need to bring that opportunity to always have these types of distributions. Think that we should work towards getting as much as we possibly can from the food bank, but working together to bring more, But when we look at all of these things that have happened, and not everyone is always privy to the information that is within. And when you see that, and when you see that there were two leaders who right now are the best, that's the greatest bromance I've ever seen in my life. It was the thank you, Judge, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Judge, thank you, Mayor, great job, Mayor, great job, let's do this, let's do that. That's all that was. It was like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives moment during these COVID conferences. And these were the situations that we all had to live with. While many of us were home, quarantined, going through situations, having to see our relatives from the lower windows of the hospital because, they were going through major issues and had to be intubated and couldn't be in there with them, but wanted to be there with them. There was no leadership during that time. You cannot tell me that providing food distributions is what leadership got through this COVID situation, or making sure that the judge and the mayor and I speak of the former mayor, obviously we know who we're talking about here. I'll just flat out say it, Mayor Cifuentes. All of these people, they went out and vaccinated themselves first. And then then it became a situation of the elite vaccination, when only certain people were getting vaccinated without going through an interview or without going through an appointment process.
And we heard of several cases like that, and the thing that we were able to confirm, because it's hard to confirm something like that, right? But we did hear a lot of rumblings about, certain people, were able to get on the fast track, so to speak, to the vaccine compared to other people where they had to wait, till whenever the guideline was released or the vaccine was released to be
Correct.
available to their age group.
And that is what, I mean, I had to wait. I didn't want to, put myself first. I was more worried about my parents getting their vaccine than I was about myself. But nonetheless, it was an issue where I wanted to make sure and follow that protocol, because I've always been of the belief that an individual who's been in the public eye, you you are heavily watched and heavily criticized. And I just prefer to stay away from situations like that. Even if it's a situation at a restaurant, I'll just wait in line. If a person, if a plate or something is sent to me incorrectly, I'll just eat it. You just go with it, because it's always best just to try to keep it as calm as possible, because it's just, that's my nature. But obviously, it wasn't their nature. And the things that they did, and the lack of respect for the healthcare providers in this community, I think was the biggest slap in the face to people. Because for them to think that they could do that and get away with it is something that is truly despicable. I mean, the way that they, treated the situations at the hospital, situations at the hospital district, situations everywhere. I mean, we were seeing it. I was seeing it, of course, but I was seeing it as a staffer, I was not, I was just, reporting back and providing that information back to my bosses. But nonetheless, the situation that we lived is just, shocking to see that this is what we've had to go through. And to sit here and say, oh, we got through COVID, because of the wonderful leadership that was here. No, there was a lot of issues, and there was a lot of internal issues. And unfortunately, a lot of things didn't get done the way that they should have, because David has absolutely, and let's just put it this way. I mean, nobody, I think, is ever prepared for any type of, global pandemic like this was. But David, as an EOC director, as the mayor, I was the EOC director for the city. David is the EOC director for the county. In situations of major concern and catastrophe, obviously the county judge is the go-to person. But in all of the situations where an EOC had to be activated, the Emergency Operations Center had to be activated, whether it was a flood situation, whether it was, any disaster that happened in the area, David was never involved. David never showed up. David worried about what little he could and just dealt with his people and dealt with his crew and, tried to help those people that were closest to him in certain colonias.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just the way he works. He doesn't care. He doesn't have a heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that is where, I'm sorry if I'm coming across maybe a little, too strong there, but it just comes to a point to where we all have to sit here, evaluate, and really see the type of people that we have in office. And those people are just something else.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, and it's not anything where somebody or any of the residents, anybody watching that wants to know about what happened or what's going on. It's not anything that you have to research. It's stuff that is, browsing on Facebook that could kind of tell you. I mean, we have Luis Cifuentes, whenever he was the mayor, trying to get people huddled into a multi-purpose center that, having the Cruz Munoz, where the Cruz Munoz was built for that, type of situation. And I think that's one of the issues you have also with the lack of response that we got from the county judge whenever we did have that February freeze as well to several areas, like Precinct 2. I think we talked about this before. Precinct 3, where there was issues and nobody showed up. It was other residents that had to come in and assist. They were the first point of contact, is other, residents just like them helping each other out. And I think that you're kind of shining the light on this, is that the lack of the Maverick County judge being that type of person that takes charge in emergency situations, making sure that everybody has what they need in emergency situations. Because I mean, not only do we have COVID, we had that freeze in February that nobody even saw coming.
Snowvid, as we call it.
Snow.
Snowvid.
There you go. And I mean, it was just a thing that, like you said, nobody can be prepared for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the things that did come out, that we were able, and it's just like with anything, you see that tip of the iceberg, but you don't know what's under the ocean that you did not see. And you can only imagine it. Yeah. They tend to be a lot bigger than what you can see. So that just puts a bunch of doubt into, is this who we want to go forward with our vote, with our future? Because I mean, 4 years is a very long time, and we've already had them for 8, and it's looking bleak. I mean, I'm telling you, I haven't been to the poor areas as of yet, and I do plan to make a trip out there. But from what I see on Facebook, I mean, it's he's on an island right now. He's on an island, and that island consists of employees that have always been there. Whether loyal because of force or loyal because they're loyal, they're still there in that island with him. And if people see that, people notice that. And I guess one of the things I want to ask you is, how do you go about keeping the momentum, keeping the track, noticing that? Because I mean, if I see that, I'm sure that you can see it as well. Other people see it as well. So how do you continue here forward, knowing that you might have that certain advantage going forward?
Well, I don't think that, that there is any advantage. This is a process. I think that we all need to stay focused on this election, and to realize that if you as citizens, if all of us as citizens have seen the lack of leadership that has failed us, or basically the leadership that has failed us, we should say, for Maverick County, the county judge's office, we should all have the drive and passion inside of us to flood the polls and to make a difference. That's where we need to be focused, and I think that, people definitely want it. They want the change. It's there. The question is just making sure, that we continue to ride this through until March 1st. And, on March 1st, we'll gladly give David his letter of retirement where he needs to be. There is a lot of things that he should be focusing on. And right now, we should be focusing on making sure that people get out to vote. This is just where we need to be focusing on. And that's what, my team is working on. That's what, I'm working on. That is what everyone in this community should be working on, because I feel that. I personally feel that's what this county is wanting and desiring at this moment, to move forward and to get things done and accomplished.
So in your opinion, or maybe not in your opinion, but in your sense, that what's important to you about being county judge? What's at stake in your point of view, this title, this position, this Maverick County judge? What's at stake here and for you?
I think that's a good question. I believe that, the county judge's role is more than just a budget officer. I mean, by law, that's really what the county judge's role is. You handle the budget, you make sure that, your commissioners, your departments, elected officials that are all elected maintain within that, and you sign off, to proceed with the daily operations of the county. You provide what should be a balanced, transparent budget. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But I mean, for me, there's there's more to this than just the administrative portion. When we think of the county judge, we think of the county judge being the mayor, city manager, basically of the county, where there is an understanding of the administrative and legislative responsibilities that come with that. But when you look at the situation, you're looking at much more than that. You're looking at a situation where you have judicial responsibilities as well. And there is a lot that has not been done in that stance, for many years. The county judge, I think right now that we have, has just strictly focused on ways to maintain an office than he has in focusing on the justice of the people that go before his court. Whether it's matters of probate, whether it's issues of moving appeals from the JP courts. There's a lot that should be happening within the county judge's role. And right now you have one judge that just does not hold court, does not proceed with any type of legal hearing. They could be basically holding his hand during a hearing and he still won't do it. And I don't understand why or how he's been able to get away with that for so long. We're talking 20 years of just a failed judicial system, within the court. And I'm saying this because even, other judges saw the same issue, where they wouldn't hold court as much. I mean, and that's what trainings are for. County judge's position does not have to be an attorney to be there. You have a county prosecutor who is there to assist. You can obviously, ask to go under advisement as a judge to review the cases that are being provided to you. But it's either David just isn't comfortable taking on rulings, or he just prefers that, he sits on cases that have been sitting there for years, that can in turn obviously be situations that will expedite situations for people in this community, that will expedite obviously returns, we can say, court costs, whatever that is, from the community. But if it isn't a DWI dismissal, I don't think he's going to do anything. And why does he do DWI dismissals? Probably it's people that are voting for him. I mean, I can guarantee you that I've seen, and that was the interesting topic when that actually came up, where I spoke to somebody that was very strong supporter of us, and an individual walks in to go out there and vote. That person hardly ever votes, and I can tell you, that's just the case, because you kind of get a feel, you get a list through the van system, and who your regular voters are, and you see this individual walk in, and the person that's there with me basically tells me, oh, this is what we're seeing, and this is why this individual is coming out to vote, because when asked to vote for you, they said they were going out there to vote for David because he had dismissed his DWI.
Wow.
So these are the realities that we are facing, and it's just disappointing,
Unfair.
There's a saying that can be said, I guess, in this, where you can basically just say there is no justice. There's just David. And that, my friends, is reality at Maverick County. Yeah. And the sad part in all of this is that when you see a DWI dismissal, and I'm not, hey, everybody has sometimes people slip. There's issues, there's either a depression, there's a situation, or, sometimes people just had too much of a good time, and it's normal, things happen. But there is also the law.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to make sure that that is being followed. That is a responsibility that comes with the judge's role. And there is a need for us to make sure to imply to apply the law to the way that it should be. And that's just kind of the disappointment that we see when speaking to people, when seeing the situations that are being lived right now, and the way that it is. And I mean, there's cases, there's situations that have happened, and I go back and I think, all of this ties in together.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a sheriff's department right now and basically, and I'll just say it, a sheriff that is, and hey, everybody has the right to support whoever they want. I'm totally cool with that. But you have an individual who's in that office, who's out there sitting practically all day with the county judge at the election site. When the county judge isn't there, well, I mean, they're there. He's there. His other administrative staff is there from the sheriff's department.
Wow.
When they should be, enforcing the law.
Yeah.
And the situation there is that we're seeing problems where not too long ago, I think we can all remember the sad story of the sad situation that occurred that was alarming to see, where an individual, a woman, who had filed for a restraining order to be handled at the sheriff's department.
Mm-hmm.
Restraining orders and things didn't follow through the way that they should have. That individual, unfortunately, was shot by her partner, her husband. Husband turns around, shoots himself, considered a murder-suicide. Who knows? I don't have specifics on the case. But we see those things that are living in our city, in our county. And I'm not making this political. I'm stating a fact where the law and the failure to apply the law by the county judge in several instances has failed this community. People have been shot. People have been killed. And yet, officials from that department are out there holding David Saucedo signs. Where's the reality here? Where is the situation where we can make things and make this county what it deserves to be? We're never going to get there. Not with this political imbalance.
Yeah.
And that's why we all need to focus on electing people that are going to turn this county around. We have had so many years of this, Isaac, that it has just taken our community into basically a political mafia of being stagnant. We have not moved forward. We have basically just continued to stay in a situation of the status quo. And in the meantime,
business as usual.
Yeah, business as usual. Hey, it's okay, nobody died today. Let's just keep on moving. That's what I'm seeing from this government. And I mean, that's the sad thing. When people's lives have already been affected, but I bet you that if something would have happened to their family, you would bet that they would be on top of things very quickly. And I don't do this to offend the leadership of our sheriff's department in any way, but what I do this with is accountability.
Yeah.
There's a responsibility that is given to everyone, and there is integrity that is required in these offices. I would like to think that, if ever anything happened, to me, to my family, that I would be able to call on that department.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the city, so I mean, I call the police department, but the people of the county, they don't even get their calls answered, or they don't get there on time. Situations happen where there's a family disturbance. I mean, one thing can lead to another, and the time that it takes for the officer to get there, there needs to be a sense that I saw something where David was claiming that I want to defund police. That is typical where David is wrong in all that he does. This is not an issue of defunding police. This is an issue of formulating structure. You have so many constables, and then you have one constable that has like 100 constables, under him. But why? Los votos, claro. Hey, we all know how this works.
And you see the pictures on Facebook. I mean, you see who's out there assisting, helping, working, walking door to door, and that goes a lot to be said for not just anybody's going to help you walk door to door to try to get these votes, right? So,
yeah, and that is where there's just such a hey, everything works out only the way he wants things. But if you were to ask me, what, as county judge, the day that I were to get there, I would look at a restructuring. You know what, Maverick County Sheriff's Department, you all are receiving so much money in budget. They receive about $3.5 million a year in budget processes there. Okay, well then we need to look at ways that how can we make sure that our constables are also patrolling to cover the entire county? How can we look at ways that are going to make sure that the constable is not only working until midnight, but past that time, or fluctuating schedules? It's an issue of structure, but there is no structure. It's just whatever David says. It's just whatever issue that they want to do. There is no structure at Maverick County. And if there's one thing that I learned and that I am grateful for at the city of Eagle Pass, is that, and I'm not saying that the city is perfect, because just like any entity, we have our issues, we have our concerns that come up, on a day-to-day basis, just like Maverick County would too, under, anybody's leadership. But we need to make sure that we are doing all that we can to address these issues and to formulate structure for the employees, formulate structure for our citizens, formulate structure for a greater form of organizational purpose, so that everyone understands what their role is with Maverick County. And that is why I believe that David has failed us. He can't get people to the table. He can't. I mean, you've got a constable who, because I believe that, and this is my belief, who, because he is supporting me, they have failed to move in processing. The PO is ready. The money is there to get their new unit. But because it's election time, and because right now we're seeing issues of who he's supporting, that PO's not been signed, but the unit is ready to be picked up. Maybe now after this, hopefully this will help that constable get their unit. I'm hoping it will.
Yeah, and I think
nonetheless, that is what David does. That is what David is. And that's why we need to eliminate these type of favoritisms and problems that we live daily here as employees, as elected officials, as department heads, because this is just not getting us anywhere. He says that Maverick County is moving forward. Maverick County is far from moving forward under a David Saucedo administration. Maverick County is stagnant.
And to kind of second about what you were saying, I think Commissioner Ruiz also came out and said, he started up paving a road, and the road hasn't come to completion because of a PO that is sitting in a stack in the county judge's office that has not been signed. And we can speculate to the fact that, hey, is it because of elections are going on and he's obviously, they're not on the same side of elections this time around. So
And
Another thing,
that's just reality there, you know. And I think that that's where people need to just make sure and see this type of situation. If you were to ask me, and these are obviously just the questions that are the concerns that I know that have been brought up. I know that I've heard obviously Commissioner Reese. I've heard Commissioner Ramos express that. I mean, she had mentioned that there was like a stack this much of her POs that had not been signed. I mean, things that just kind of come up to where she has to put a gallon of paint to be approved on an agenda because things just won't move forward. I mean, do we really need to be that petty on stuff that is? I mean, there are so many things that need to be fixed in Maverick County, but yet they make things so difficult, and it's just it's it's disappointing. It's disappointing to see what is going on there.
yeah, somebody else mentioned about the trying to put the substation out there in precinct 4, but it hasn't moved forward, and it's been several years that that's been proposed, and and that's where a lot of statistically the crime occurs
Mhm.
here in Maverick County.
Mhm.
Uh, now,
And that, you know, is a huge issue. You know, when we see that, and you know, I've walked Loma Bonita portions of that area. I've walked, you know, areas in we're looking over in Las Brisas, um, distinct areas in Chula Vista that have all, you know, mentioned the concern of security, you know, and what can be done. But it's an issue of structure. I mean, that's really what it is. And unfortunately, that's just not anywhere that needs that is being done. There, you know, the substations. I think that the commissioner had also, you know, mentioned that, and that's something that needs to be addressed. We need to be looking at those things. The county is way too large for us to be having these types of problems, and more than likely, and you know, when we look at the situation, understaffed, you know, to a degree of security. You have the situation that we deal with where we need to make sure and address the situation of funding. And there's funding opportunities that are out there. We just need to be aggressive, you know, in bringing them. I think that, you know, for whether it's Operation Lone Star, whether it's Stone Garden funding, whether anything specific that is out there that can help with patrolling and prosecuting, which is important because it's not only about patrolling, but also making sure that we can address the situation because one small thing can continue leading to larger issues.
yeah,
And when you have a judge who doesn't follow through with the enforcement, well, what's going to happen? Oh, it was a slap on the hand.
mhm.
And it's something's going to get worse. Something's going to continue to grow from it. And, you know, the last thing that we want is for someone's life to be taken because of a failed judicial system. And that's what we have. We have a failed judge. We have a failed judicial system. We have a failed county. We have a failed administrator. We have a failed everything. But we need to address the issue is with everyone, and that's what we need to, you know, work on to bring forth that opportunity. I mean, my obvious first priority would be to address those issues from a security standpoint. Even speaking with, you know, ranchers out there in specific areas, huge issues that they're facing with individuals breaking in that have crossed illegally, whatever that may be. Those are the situations that we have all seen firsthand. There's a rancher that had specifically told me that they had spent nearly almost about $70,000 to date, you know, fixing fences, you know, fixing situations that were happening daily on their ranches, and there's nothing that can be done. They can call the sheriff's office, they can call the constable, and there is no direct response to them. Um, and that's disappointing because you would think that when you're in need of something, when you're in need of an emergency situation, you want to make sure and feel comfortable that someone's going to show up wherever you are and help. I mean, I think that that's why, you know, taxes are paid. That is why people, you know, the investments are made into departments. That is why things move in the direction that they should. Um, Now, if leadership is failing us, then that's where we all have that responsibility to change that leadership.
Yeah, and I know that I mean it's been a little bit of a struggle with the whole border crisis going on, and as you mentioned, it's everything's kind of tied into each other: the prosecution, the
Yeah.
enforcement, and everything. And we've seen where we have the district attorney, the county attorney come in commissioner's court trying to fight for extra dollars or just a fight for them not to slash their budgets.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can look forward, if you were to take over the county judge spot, to helping these prosecutors, the district attorney, Maverick, the county attorney, in fixing up the court systems? Because I mean, you're saying we have a failed judicial system, so is that one of the things that we can look forward to you cleaning up if you're in office?
If given the opportunity, and obviously, I on the judicial side, there's a lot that comes with that. And I think that we need to make sure that, first, as the budget officer, as the administrator of the county, I would commit myself fully to make sure that those systems were funded properly in order to make sure that we can proceed with what is needed to keep this community safe. The safety of this community and any community should be the priority of our leaderships. And that is where, unfortunately, right now, they play politics with the safety of our residents.
Mm-hmm.
And if it isn't a constable that I like, if it isn't a officer or a department that I like, they're not going to get the funding that they need. And it's unfortunate. We have seen it one too many times there at the Maverick County Commissioners Court meetings. And it's even more disappointing when you have two other commissioners that are playing puppeteers, basically, to this person who has not, shown a direct, or that have not shown a direct interest in the safety of their residents as well. Mm. And I'm not here to bash sitting commissioners. If anything, I have when given the opportunity to serve, I believe that, I will work with all of them, regardless whether they supported me or not. Mm-hmm. That is something that is crucial for me. They may not want to work with me, but I will always have an open door to them. And this will be the only way that we'll be able to move this county in the right direction. It may be a challenge, but we need to have that relationship to assure that from the judicial to the budgeting to the administrative to the situations that land on a daily basis to all of the residents, from every minor issue, whether it's the light pole in front of Mrs. Martinez's, house that just has not existed in 40 years, or the pothole over at Mr. Flores's street over, in Siesta, whatever it may be, we address the issue. And if the commissioner isn't listening to them, we'll know that the citizens have a county judge that they can come to, because that's what's needed. We can all work together. And you know what? And it's not an issue of me overstepping my boundaries into the precincts. No, it's an issue of me picking up a phone and saying, hey, Commissioner X, this is a situation that y'all are facing. They're calling my office. What are we going to do to fix it? Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. It's not overstepping. It's working together. It's making sure that the issues are resolved. And that's how we can address these issues. And I know, and I am confident that we will be able to do that when given the opportunity to serve as the next county judge.
Awesome. Well, we thank you for taking time again to meet us, and hopefully we will again be able to catch you before the actual general election. March the 1st comes around and election day comes up. But I don't know if there's anything else you would like to mention to the public. I mean, I know you've been pretty straightforward and letting us know, answering all the questions that we have. We were going to ask you a border crisis question, but you kind of went ahead and addressed that for the person that was concerned about it, and they were thankful on the comments as well for you answering what you did, because it has been an issue where the current county judge has really taken a step back with the border situation and has not really, offered too much in solving that issue.
I don't think he's offered too much in a whole lot of things. But I think that the one thing that we can all agree on here is, and in regards to that with the border crisis, as an individual who served heavily on the Texas Border Coalition, I served as the chairman of that coalition of mayors, an individual who has testified before the border security committees, whether it be both here, at state and federal hearings. The issue here is addressing that and seeing what we can do to make it a better situation for the residents that are here, without them feeling terrorized or worried that their children who may be at home, or that they can't even go outside at night. These are for people who live out in ranches, because I know that that's been something that I've heard one too many times. I don't want that for a resident. I don't want anybody to feel that way. What I do want is obviously for us to have communication between the residents and my office in order to address that issue and to find the best possible solution, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that communication, it's going to take that structure, and it's going to take that ability to move in. So, I'm committed to doing that, just as I'm committed to working hard for Maverick County. I thank, of course, you for Isaac for your time, for the ability to sit and have this conversation with our residents here in Maverick County. I'm sure there's many things that we can definitely cover. I don't know if there's anything else or any other questions that you wanted to ask.
No. I mean, what we had and what we had left over, and what some of the people that I see the comments come in. Some people that have comment on from the last discussion conversation we had. We kind of addressed all that, and hopefully we can meet up again and address anything that might be coming up forward.
No. Well, I mean, technically, we are doing everything that we can, and know that whatever we can address for them. Hey, we're here. I think that everybody has us on our social media websites, our sites, basically through the Facebook Ramsey English Cantu for Maverick County Judge. Feel free to shoot us any questions that they may have, and I'll be happy to have that one-on-one with you all as well. There's still obviously time. There may be some voters out there that still may be undecided, and know that my commitment is to have that conversation with you. I may pick up the phone and call you from a Facebook, from the messenger, because it might just be too much to type out. And we're just trying to do so much, but every concern is important to me, and every concern, that gets thrown our way is definitely something that we want to address in order to talk to you all. We have, it's been a great response of support, concerns, questions that we've been getting on our Facebook and all of our social media. But know that we're addressing everything as quickly as possible in order to get those responses to them. So we're ready. We're ready to serve. We're ready to bring that change that everybody wants in this community. And I just want to say thank you, Isaac, for allowing us to have this conversation and to move forward with a continuation of this. I'm pretty sure that we'll probably sit down, maybe if not two more times, or so between now and election day, because I want people to know what it is that our thoughts are and how we can do that. And hopefully, maybe one of these days, the judge will be willing to sit down and talk to you.
We're looking forward to that day. We won't hold our breath, of course, but we'll see if we can make that happen. Again, you're going to be out there from 7 Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
7 a.m. 7 p.m.
Yeah. Yes, tomorrow it'll be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Multipurpose Center, and Sunday it'll be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday we're closed for the holiday, and then the regular voting hours will resume from Tuesday through Friday of next week from 7 to 7 every day. So if you can't get out to vote this weekend, try to get it out of the way. I've always told people that, sometimes things happen and you have to leave town and you just miss that election day. One vote can always make a difference. I think that we saw it in the last election, and we want to make sure and avoid any situation like that in the future. So we're definitely ready to do that, and I look forward to seeing you all. Feel free to stop by and say hi at our tent site there, and to just have a conversation, or if anything, I know that we'll be out there pretty much all day tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, thank you. We appreciate it, Ramsey, getting together with us again. And we wish you nothing but luck. And hopefully you guys have good weather out there tomorrow and Sunday.
That's
Never know with that Texas weather, huh? Well, guys, we had Ramsey English Cantu, a candidate for mayor. For former mayor, candidate for Maverick County judge. Guys, we had a good turnout from viewers. We appreciate you guys joining in and talking to us a little bit, asking questions that you guys always do, making your comments. While we had the candidate for Maverick County judge, Ramsey English Cantu, we want to remind you guys that this podcast is being brought to you by the re-elect Roberto Ruiz for County Commissioner Precinct 4 campaign. For Precinct 4, guys, you guys have a Vietnam veteran, a Marine, a career educator, and a full-time committed county commissioner in Roberto Ruiz. Re-elect Roberto Ruiz for County Commissioner Precinct 4. Guys, another message from some of our sponsors, Viva Canine Dog Training, Grooming, and Boarding Center. 830-513-3523 for anything that your furry little buddy might need. The Wagon Wheel, 830-513-7250. Again, they have a new location, still on Del Rio Boulevard, 1824 Del Rio Boulevard. Show up and have what's voted as the best in the preliminary votes as the best barbecue in the city of Eagle Pass. So you guys go ahead and go visit the Wagon Wheel at 1824 Del Rio Boulevard for the best barbecue in town. Guys, thank you for joining us again. We will be having other conversations with the candidate for mayor for this county judge, Ramsey English Cantu. We are trying to find and hopefully have the other opponent for the county judge, David Saucedo. We are hoping to have him. We've been trying to get him to respond to us on Messenger. We have not been so lucky, but hopefully we can go ahead and get him in on an interview and see what he has to say about some of the things going on. We all see what's going on Facebook, the exchange that they've been having, indirect exchanges. So, we just want to get a little bit in depth, know a little bit more for our residents as they are gearing up to hit the polls, hit the election center, and vote for their next Maverick County judge. Thank you guys for joining. If you want to donate directly to us, we do have a Cash App, $ the Rising Texan Media. We appreciate any donations, but if anything, please go and support our sponsors as they help keep our show going, our podcast going. So thank you guys for joining in. You guys have a good night, a great weekend, and remember the voting doesn't stop this weekend. It keeps going. Saturday and Sunday. Monday will be off, and we're gearing and pushing forward to a March 1st election day. We'll be holding on for that. This was the